This is how you do some proper fundamental analysis in less than 3 minutes. The number one question to ask is, what is the current macro story? Like, what is in focus right now? So the European Central Bank, so on the euro side, is doing nothing, just on hold, and they've been well communicating that they will stay on hold. Perfect. European Central Bank, not a lot going on. Then what else? Geopolitically, there's anything meaningful? Well, no, at least nothing new. Sure, there's still plenty of tensions with Russia, but from a sentiment perspective, the market doesn't have anything new from it. So everything that it already knows is already in the price. Okay, so nothing going on from the ECB and nothing going on new from geopolitics. In fact, the real macro story, the dominant one right now, is from the Federal Reserve. See, all the talks are on whether they'll cut or not at the December FOMC meeting. If you follow us, you definitely know how this works. If the Fed is going to cut in December, that's bearish for the dollar. If they're not going to cut in December, that's bullish for the dollar. So the task as a macro trader is to ask and answer one question. What happens next? Will the Fed need to cut rates in December or not? The answer to this question tells us whether the dollar, and so EURUSD, will move higher or lower. If the Federal Reserve will have to cut, EURUSD will move higher. If the data will force that the Fed will cut rates, EURUSD continues higher. December rate cut, yes, EURUSD higher. December rate cut, no, EURUSD lower. This is the whole macro context, simplified into one simple chart. Now you can see right here we got hints of a soft labor market with a soft ADP weekly number, and here Goldman's came out with a research note highlighting how the October NFP is likely going to be negative. I'm going to show you this research in a second. But this is cool and handy. But how do we actually know what the Federal Reserve will do next? How do we know whether they're going to cut or not? Well, that's the analysis part in fundamental analysis. See, the Federal Reserve mandate is simple. Keep inflation stable and support the labor market. So by having the full picture on both inflation and labor market, we can get a sense of what they'll do next. Right now, I've got to admit, inflation is still fairly high, but the labor market is way more troublesome. Goldman Sachs has calculated that the October NFP numbers will be quite negative. And although we haven't actually seen yet nothing about the November NFP numbers, which they're gonna matter a little bit more because we know that the October NFP numbers will be impacted by the government shutdown, so the November NFP will be a little bit more important, but still, it will definitely have some drags from the government shutdown, even in November, because the shutdown went on up until November 11 or so. So there's gonna definitely be an impact on the November number too. So, as you can see, we've built a macro thesis right here. We understand that the market cares most about the December FOMC meeting right now. That's the core macro event, and it doesn't only matter in December, it matters as of right now because markets move on expectations. So if the data starts to print weak, supporting a Fed cut in December, then EURUSD will move anticipating that rate cut. Okay, same on the other side. So we understand what the market cares most about right now, which is the December FOMC meeting. That's the main macro narrative right now at the moment. And so if we can, we build our view on that in order to understand what the market is most likely going to do. Now, you might have a different view on this. You might have the completely opposite view on this. You might have your reasons to think the data, the CPI, the labor market, the NFP, everything will surprise expectations higher, and so the Fed will not cut rates in December. Okay, I personally disagree with that. The data right now, the insight that we're getting point towards a softening labor market, but you can have your view. What I'm trying to show you here is what fundamental analysis really is about. Once you know what's going on behind the charts, you know how to read the chart itself.